She didn't grow up dreaming of a crown. There were no royal tutors, no palace halls, no promises of power. She was an orphan, a young Jewish girl living under the rule of a foreign empire, far from home, far from safety. Yet even then, her life was being shaped for a moment she couldn't yet see. This is the story of Esther, not just a queen, but a reminder that purpose often hides inside ordinary lives. The Persian Empire was massive, stretching across continents, ruled by King Xerxes from his palace in Susa. His authority was unquestioned, and his wealth was unmatched. To display his power, the king hosted a lavish celebration that lasted months. Leaders and officials gathered, surrounded by luxury and excess. When the feast ended, he held another banquet for everyone in the capital city. At the same time, Queen Vashti held a separate gathering for the women in the palace. On the final night, fueled by wine and pride, King Xerxes made a humiliating demand. He ordered Queen Vashti to appear before his guests so they could admire her beauty. She refused. That single act of defiance shook the palace. The king's advisors feared that if Vashti went unpunished, women across the empire would begin to challenge authority. So Vashti was removed as queen, and a decree was issued throughout the land. What seemed like a political decision was actually the first step in a much bigger plan. After time passed, the king began to regret what he had done. So a new plan was created. Young women from every province were brought to the palace so the king could choose a new queen. Among them was Esther. She had been raised by her cousin Mordecai, who cared deeply for her and taught her to remain faithful. He warned her not to reveal her Jewish identity. Inside the palace, Esther didn't demand attention. She didn't try to stand out. Yet she gained favor everywhere she went. When she was brought before the king, something was different. Out of all the women in the empire, Xerxes chose Esther as queen. A crown was placed on her head, but her identity remained hidden. Not long after, Mordecai overheard a plot to assassinate the king. 2 guards planned to kill him. Mordecai immediately warned Esther. The plot was stopped. The guards were executed. The event was written into the royal records. And then, nothing happened. Mordecai was forgotten. Soon after, a man named Haman rose to power. He was promoted above all others, and everyone was commanded to bow before him. Everyone did except Mordecai. This enraged Haman. When he learned Mordecai was Jewish, his anger turned into hatred for an entire people. Haman devised a plan to destroy all the Jews in the empire. Through manipulation and lies, he convinced the king to sign a decree ordering their extermination on a specific day. The law was sealed. Fear spread everywhere. When Esther learned what had happened, Mordecai sent her a message. Who knows whether you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Esther chose courage. Approaching the king without being summoned could mean death. Esther asks the people to fast and pray for 3 days. Then she prepared to risk her life. When Esther entered the throne room, the king extended his golden scepter. She waved. Instead of immediately making her request, she invited them to a banquet. That night, the king couldn't sleep. He ordered the royal records to be read aloud. That's when he discovered that Mordecai had never been rewarded for saving his life. Thinking the honor was for himself, Haman described a grand celebration. The king replied, "Do exactly that for Mordecai." Haman was humiliated. At the second banquet, Esther finally spoke. She revealed she was Jewish and exposed Haman's plan. The king was furious. Haman was executed. The decree to destroy the Jews could not be undone, so the king issued a new law, giving them permission to defend themselves. What was meant for destruction became victory. Fear turned into celebration. Esther reminds us that silence does not mean absence. You may not see the plan, that you may be exactly where you need to be for such a time as this.